YouTube, Born a Racer here. I ran across this article from the New York Times, wrongfully accused by algorithm in what may be the first known case of its kind. A faulty facial recognition match led to a Michigan man's arrest for a crime he did not commit. It says, on a Thursday afternoon in January, this was in January, Robert Julian Williams was in his office at an automotive supply company when he got a call from the Detroit Police Department telling him to come to the station to be arrested. He thought at first that it was a prank. An hour later, when he pulled into his driveway in a quiet subdivision in Farmington Hills, Michigan, a police car allegedly pulled up behind, blocking him in. Two officers allegedly got out and handcuffed Mr. Williams on his front lawn in front of his wife and two young daughters, allegedly, who were distraught. The police wouldn't say why he was being arrested, only showing him a piece of paper with his photo and the words felony warrant and larceny. His wife Melissa asked where he was being taken. Google it, she recalls, an officer replying. The police drove Mr. Williams to a detention center. He had his mugshot, fingerprints, and DNA taken and was held overnight. Around noon on Friday, two detectives took him to an interrogation room and placed 3 pieces of paper on the table, face down. When's the last time you went to a Shinola store? One of the detectives asked Mr. Williams' recollection. Shinola is an upscale boutique that sells watches, bicycles, and leather goods in the trendy Midtown neighborhood of Detroit. Mr. Williams said he and his wife had checked it out when the store first opened in 2014. The detective turned over the first piece of paper. It was a still image from a surveillance video showing a heavy-set man dressed in black and wearing a red St. Louis Cardinals cap, standing in front of a watch display. 5 timepieces worth $3,800 were shoplifted. Is this you? Asked the detective. The second piece of paper was a close-up. The photo was blurry, but it was clearly not Mr. Williams. He picked up the image and held it next to his face. No, this is not me, Mr. Williams said. You think all black men look alike. Mr. Williams knew that he had not committed the crime in question. What he could not have known as he sat in the interrogation room is that his case may be the first known account of an American being wrongfully arrested based on a flawed match from facial recognition algorithm, according to experts on technology and the law. A nationwide debate is raging about racism and law enforcement across the country. Millions are protesting not just the actions of individual officers, but bias in the system used to surveil communities and identify people for prosecution. Facial recognition systems have been used by police force for more than 2 decades. Recent studies by MIT and the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, have found that while the technology works relatively well on white men, the results are less accurate for other demographics, in part because of a lack of diversity in the images used to develop the underlying database. Last year, during a public hearing about the use of facial recognition in Detroit, an assistant police chief was among those who raised concerns on the question of false positives. That is absolutely factual and is well documented, James White said. So that concerns me as an African American male. Which, yeah, we all know that facial recognition is no good. In some circumstances, maybe. And why this article is being brought up now, when it happened in January, makes you wonder. They're trying to throw the facial recognition in front of us, and they're trying to bring